Well, welcome to Rendezvous with French Cinema at Film at Lincoln Center. I'm Devika Girish. I'm the assistant editor of Film Comment magazine and a programmer of talks at Film at Lincoln Center. And I'm really excited to be talking today to the director, writer, and star of Spring Blossom, one of the most exciting debut features, I would say, in this year's Rendezvous with French Cinema lineup. It's a really inventive, utterly charming twist on a coming of age tale, on a sort of, unusual, fantastical romance. And the director, who we have with us today, Suzanne Lindon, I have to say is certainly the youngest director in the lineup. She's just 20. So I'm so excited to be talking to you, Suzanne, and to know more about how you achieved this really incredible accomplishment at such a young age.
Well, thank you very much. I'm very happy to meet you and to talk to you today, and I'm very touched by what you said. So thank you very, very much. Thank you.
Of course, and you're joining us from Paris, I believe, and I so wish we could have you in New York, but we'll do the best we can. I wanted to start off by talking about the script. I know that you wrote the script when you were 15, which is sort of this similar to the age of the character. The lead character is 16. So can you tell me a little bit about what sparked the script and what made you write this particular story at that point in your life?
Yes, actually, it was 5 years ago, and it was a time in which I was in high school, and I had a lot of friends, but I wasn't very comfortable in my daily routine, and I had the feeling that I needed something more. And I started to write about my teenage years, but just like that, it was just like if I was writing in my diary. But I knew that I wanted to make a film and I wanted to act. But I'm from a family in which my two parents are actors, so I wanted to feel very legitimate to do it. And I thought that I needed to write a story to feel very comfortable with the idea that I wanted to play. And I started to write something, and actually I think that I've been very inspired by my life at that time. And when I was 15, I was very happy, but I had the feeling that being a teenager was a little harder than what people can say. And I had a lot of fantasies, and I remember that I was more interested in my fantasies than in my real life. And I thought that it was a good start to write a story and to write this unusual love story between this young girl and this older man. But I didn't want it to be awkward or uncomfortable because everything is very pure, and this is what I wanted to do. It was to just give the feeling that someone very young can feel the same as someone who's not the same age, but it doesn't matter. And I think that I've been very, very inspired by that, and this is why I started to write it.
Yeah, I definitely want to come back to some aspects of what you just said because that was a really fascinating background. But I also, I want to know between writing the film and making the film in those sort of 4 to 5 years, how did the story change? And I ask because in the film, there is this sense of it has this youthful energy. It feels like an adolescent girl telling her, story. But there's also a gentle hint of irony. You get the sense that you're now older and looking back at yourself. So I'm just wondering, like, how the story changed as you grew up through this very formative time in your life.
Well, actually, it didn't change a lot. In the first version of the script, it was just the story, and the dancing parts were not there. And it was in the second version that I added this, but the story didn't change at all. And it was very, very important to me to keep it very like to keep it like that and not to change a lot, because I wanted to have the feeling that I wrote it when I was leaving the feeling that I was talking about. And so I just wrote it. I think I was 15, and it was during the summer. And after that, during my high school years, I was sometimes looking back to it and changing little things like details, but the story didn't change at all. And the dancing parts just came to me, and I had the feeling that to tell this love story between these two characters, I needed to make them to very show that they are falling in love, and to create a sensual atmosphere between them without making them like kiss each other or making love to each other, because I wanted the story to stay very pure and and uh, and actually very I don't know how to say it, but I wanted to be very careful with that. So I just decided not to change a lot and to keep the story that I had in mind when I was a teenager, because I thought that it was the right thing to do. And this is what I've been interested in when I had to play the character, to act in the film. It was to relive the feelings I had when I wrote it 5 years before.
Yeah, and you really, the musical sequences really add that feeling of sexual chemistry without making it explicit, which sometimes is even more sensuous than, just seeing it play out on screen. So that was really wonderful. Um, did you always know that you wanted to direct and act in it? Like when you were writing the script, did you know that you wanted to sort of play all those three roles in this film?
Actually, in the very beginning, I just wanted to act, and this is why I started to write the story. And while I was writing, I just realized that it was not possible for me to give my story to someone else to imagine and to create a movie thanks to the story that I've written. So I decided to do everything at the same time. So the very first thing that I wanted to do was acting, because it's the very first passion I had. It was to play. But I discovered while I was writing and while I was directing the film that I was also interested in the two other parts of all this.
And what was it like, the actual experience? This is your first time doing any of this, right? So, what was wearing all those three hats, and then also, keeping an eye on the mise en scène and the cinematography and the other actors, kind of, what was that experience like?
It felt very natural because I was surrounded by people that I really love, and I really trust them. So it was I was comfortable, but not too much. And I really wanted to be very spontaneous. So I didn't want it to have like a theater lessons or anything before, because I wanted like everything to be very natural and to be very I wanted to feel very free. So I needed to be surrounded by people I trusted, and this is what happened to me because I worked with a wonderful team, and I felt very free to express myself and to create an object that really looked like me. And so I have the feeling that I really made a gesture that really looks like me, and this is what I'm proud about today. I'm proud of this because I have the feeling that I succeeded in expressing myself.
So, obviously the film is sort of like, half comes from you, and the other kind of half of the energy and the beauty of the film comes from your co-star Arnaud. I'm wondering what you were looking for when casting that part. What did you have in your mind, and then how did Arnaud fit that?
It was very hard for me to choose. Actually, it was very hard for me to imagine someone playing that part because it was very my dream man. So I wanted to find someone that I could really love as much as I loved what I imagined. And actually, I didn't know Arnaud. And one day I watched BPM at home, the movie in which he's playing, and I saw him, and he had nothing to do with what I had in mind when I was writing the script. But weirdly, I found something that I really liked, and I think that Arnaud is very graceful. He has a lot of grace. He's very graceful, and I was writing the musical parts and the dancing sequences, so I thought that it could match between us. And he's very handsome and he's very mysterious. He has this weird there's this weird atmosphere between us because I'm a teenager in the movie and he's an adult, but there's something very youth in his way of acting and in his way of being with me, and I think that I've been very interested in that. And I met Arnaud, and actually I kind of fell in love with his personality, and it really helped me to imagine the film. And it was a very important meeting for me, and I think that that we can really trust each other. So we were very free to try things on set, and I was also very free to ask him to do things that I wanted, and he understood me. So it was a great experience. But actually, at the very very beginning, I was scared not to find the perfect guy to illustrate my fantasies.
I think that's kind of what's so wonderful about the film is that you're a young woman who actually realized her fantasy. You got to live your dream and find your dream man, and you don't see that often in cinema. I also really love the actors who play your parents and their characters. They add a really warm dimension to the film and another dimension. You get a sense of the fullness of this character's lives through her family. Can you tell me a little bit about casting those actors and also whether you had your own parents in mind, or how did you go about sort of crafting those parts?
Um, Actually, the actors for my parents, it was very obvious for me. I when I was writing the script, I was writing for Frédéric Pierrot, the actor who plays my dad in the film, and it was very obvious for me that I wanted him to be in my film because I love this actor, and I wanted to direct the film with him, and I wanted to play with him. So it was a complete desire to work with him. And it was actually the same for the actress who plays my mom, which is Florence Viala. And it was very obvious. So I had them in mind when I was writing, and it helped me a lot. And there's this warm atmosphere in the family, but because it was very important for me to show that when you're a teenager, when you're a young girl or a young boy, but here it's a young girl, I really wanted to show that sometimes parents can be very nice and very they can care about you, and they are ready to listen, and they're here if you have anything to tell them. And it was very important for me to show that when you're a teenager, you don't have to rebel against your family or be in opposition with your family. And it was actually, I've been inspired by my life, but I never thought about my real parents in my film because I wanted to do it on my own. But they inspired me a lot, and my relationship with them is very great because I know that I can trust them and that I can talk about them. But in the film, I wanted a lot of modesty between them, and here something very pure too. They talk, but they don't talk too much. The relationship between my character and the father in my film is very important, but it's very they are shy when they're together. Sometimes they talk about things and we don't really understand why they're talking about these things this way. But it was very important to me to show that you can count on your family even though you don't really talk to them. They're here for you. And I think that it was also very important for me to develop my character and everything.
This warm, the pureness of the story, like you said, it's a very wholesome story. It's and it was interesting to see that in your room in the film you have a poster of Maurice Pialat's Suzanne, from To Our Loves, which is a very different kind of film. I mean, your film is sort of a counterpoint to that film. Can you talk a little bit about that reference, how it came into the film?
I think it's very personal because when I first saw this movie, I was very young. I think I was 11 or 12, and I did not understand this like entirely, but I knew that I really really loved this film, and that it was like my first shock. And I was very happy to discover something like that because it was the first time that I was very struck by this family and the way a young girl can live her life and think about love in a very different way than I used to think about it, because I was a little more, I think, romantic or shy in my way of thinking about it. And but this is also thanks to this movie that I really discovered that I wanted to be an actress, because I was very young and I was watching this very young girl acting and being very natural and doing what she loved and being free. And I think that this was the moment when I realized that it was possible to do it when you were young. And this is why I've been really inspired by that. And I remember that I said to myself, I want to do this and I want to do this now, because she did this very young. So I can do the same. And I think this is the real reason why I put this poster in my room in the film, because it echoes the fact that I wanted to play a very I wanted to play a young girl's character very young too, and that it encouraged my desire to make movies very young as well. So it was like a hidden message to myself.
That's quite lovely. Music plays a transformative role in the film. It's kind of what bridges the gap between reality and fantasy. Can you talk a little bit about your approach to music and, what were you looking for when you were looking for the composer? And yeah, just your overall approach to the kind of musical aspects.
Well, music was very, very important for me. And since the beginning, it was very, very important. When I was writing, I didn't know where I wanted to put music in the film, but I was sure that I wanted a lot of music and that I wanted a very specific theme, like this piano theme in the very beginning of the movie that we can hear a lot after. And I wanted it like if it were her thoughts, like singing a sort of song, if it was like something that we can that can help us to understand her. And then I decided to call Vincent Delerme, the composer, in for the movie. And actually we met in a cafe and I explained him what I wanted to do with the music in the film. And I was editing the film at that moment. And I asked him if he wanted to read the script, and he said yes. But he asked me to just tell the story just like this with my own words without reading. This is what I did. And I sent him the script like 2 hours after. But between these two moments, I received a text from him, and it was a demo, and it was the piano theme. And he just found it thanks to the story that I just told him at the cafe. So I really I really felt that we understood each other, and I think that it helped me a lot to know that I wanted a lot of music and that the music will have a very important part in the film, but also because we are dancing in the film and that music and dance are linked together. And it, to me, it shows the love growing between them and how they really understand each other and how they can touch each other without making love or kissing, and how the sensuality and everything can just grow between them. This is a weird atmosphere that I wanted to express through music. So it was very important for me. And I had the idea of using the same singer every time when there's a song, and this is Christophe. And I wanted it because I think that his words are very romantic, and also it I think that every generation can recognize themselves in these songs, because in France, Christophe is a very well-known artist, and I know that people my age, like people of my grandma's age and people of my mother's age, love him, and that they can identify with his songs. So it was very important for me to mix all the generation, and so music helped me to do that.
But the song that plays over the credits, that who you sung that, right? It sounded like your voice. Where's that from, and who wrote that?
It's Vincent Delerme. It's the composer of the music of the film, and actually, it's funny because I didn't know, we didn't plan that there could be this song at the end of the film, and when we met, we created the music. He created the music, and he sent to me what he had in mind, and I was very happy to discover it. And we had an appointment at the studio to like to finish everything, and we were watching the movie while he was playing the piano, and suddenly he just looked at me and he said, "I wrote this, can you sing it?" And I was very shy, and the day before I went to a very huge party, so I screamed a lot and my voice was very very bad, so I was very scary. And he asked me to sing a little, and I said yes. And actually he was recording, and it became the song. I really
I
like
really
to do that.
hope. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I think I was very surprised to do that, but I think that I really loved to do that, and especially with him because I really trusted him. So it was a great experience.
I really hope you release that song as a single or something because
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
it's
gonna
very
happen.
beautiful. Oh, okay, good. Good to know. Because it's very beautiful and quite catchy too. So I look forward to that. Something that's really interesting in the film is you have this playful parody of the theater world, right? You have some really funny and kind of lovely cameos by theater artists. And there's a lovely scene in which Arnaud's character is asked to be a tree on stage, and it's a lovely bit of comedy. Can you talk about how that theater angle came into the script?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about the routine of this that character. So mine was very easy to describe because it's high school friends, and the life of a 16-year-old girl is more simple than the life of an adult man. And I wanted to find something like a job that can um, which could be a great way to show that he's always doing the same things. So with the theater, I had in mind the rehearsals and always the same people on stage, always the same place, always the same clothes to wear, everything, something that is always the same things and that he's actually a little fed up with. So I think that I used the theater world to express that. But I also wanted to have something a little funny with Arnaud because I didn't want his character to be only serious or only sad or something like that. So I had the feeling that to express the fact that he feels a little alone in this theater world, I needed to I needed to caricature a little the other characters around him. And for that I wrote the character of Dominique Besnéard, who's the I don't know how to say metteur en scène, who's the director of the play, and he's just asking some very weird things to Arnaud. And when you're not very passionate about what you're doing a tree can be something very very well disappointing because we're not here to do that, and also something that you don't care about. And I really wanted to show the contrast between the director of the play, for whom the tree is the most important thing on earth at that precise time when he asks Arnaud to do it, and the feeling Arnaud can have that it's just something he's fed up with and that he just wants to discover new things. And I think that I'm also very charmed by people who can laugh about themselves. And this is something that I really care about in movies because it touches me a lot. So I wanted to have some scenes in which I could use this thing, and I wanted Arnaud to play with himself, to play with his body, to do the tree, to do everything a little. He's a little ridiculous, and the director of the play is ridiculous too. But I was very interested in this aspect when I was writing the script.
Um, you know, we've already talked about this a little bit, but the film takes a lot of familiar tropes in French cinema and just cinema in general, whether it's the coming of age, a young girl's sexual awakening, a relationship between a younger woman and an older man. There's lots of movies. These are kind of like stereotypes of lots of movies, but you take them and do something different with them, and you kind of put a twist on them. And I was wondering if that was kind of an intentional, choice of yours. Did you have any other movies in mind that you were putting your own spin on?
Yes, well, I think that I didn't want my movie to imitate some other movies, and I wasn't. It was not about being fan of other movies and just redoing things, or just it's not a tribute to films that I really loved. But I think that unconsciously I was very inspired by my favorite films or films that very struck me and touched me when I was little or when I was preparing my film. So I think that unconsciously I put a little of these films in mine, but what I really wanted to do was to be inspired by all these films. Like I don't know if you know this movie, it's Running on Empty by Sidney Lumet with River Phoenix, and this is one of my favorite movies ever. And I love the way Sidney Lumet treats the family in this film, and the bond there's between all the characters. And weirdly, I've been inspired by that to create my family in my movie, but it doesn't look like the film, but it was a reference I had. I also had L'Effronté because with Charlotte Gainsbourg, because I was a huge fan when I was little. It's one of the first films that I really really loved. So I think that all these films were unconsciously always here when I was on set. But what I wanted to do was to feel very, very free and to create my own thing and my own vision, thanks to these films that helped me. But I really wanted to create my own story. And the fun fact is that in my own story, I can find back this these films that I really love. So
Oh, that's wonderful. That's so great to know that, these two references, and they make a lot of sense now that you mentioned them. Just a final question. We're almost out of time, but I'm just curious how the process of, making this film and distributing it and taking it to festivals has been, and are you already thinking about your next project? Is something brewing in your mind?
well, for now, because the film is not, with COVID and everything, the release date always changes in France and so everywhere. So I'm just waiting for the film to be out in France and over the world to really work on something different. Because for now I'm very focused on this one, but I have some ideas, but I don't know. And actually, the whole journey of the film was the greatest experience of my life because. This film is the most important thing of my life. It's my biggest achievement because it's huge, and especially at my age. And so I'm very very proud to have this film and to know that I was capable of doing that. I don't know if it's very very good, but it's very very me. I know that it looks like me, so it's important for me. And I was so surprised to know that he was selected in all these festivals, and it was a huge surprise because I wasn't even expecting someone to look at this film. So when you do things, you always think that it's just for yourself and that no one else will watch it or will be touched by it. And today, hearing people saying me that they really loved it or that they were very touched by a certain scene or a certain character or everything, it's wonderful. So I'm very happy, and I'm just waiting for the situation to be a little more okay to really leave this and to be very fully happy with this movie.
Well, I am pretty sure that our audiences in America are going to be really touched and, delighted by the film. It's just a breath of fresh air, especially during these times. So, thank you so much again. Good luck on the journey for the film. We're so excited to see what you do next in your career because you've had a very strong start. And I really hope we can welcome you in New York sometime in the future soon.
Well, thank you very, very much. And I hope that I meet you in person very soon in New York. And I'm very happy to have met you. So thank you very much.
Of course. Well, have a good day. Bye, Suzanne.